In October 2009, Bobby, Sherilyn, and 6-year-old Madyson Jamison left Eufaula, Oklahoma. They were driving toward the Bois Mountains to look at a 40-acre plot of land. They wanted to start over, living off the grid in a storage container, far from the stresses of town life. But the mountains held a darkness they couldn't see. Before they left, the family's home security camera captured something chilling. Bobby and Sherilyn were seen walking back and forth to their truck in a trance-like state. They barely spoke. They moved like robots, carrying items, and sometimes nothing at all. It was the last time they would be seen on camera, looking like shadows of themselves. The Jamison home was not a peaceful one. The walls were covered in spray-painted messages about witches and judgment. Sherilyn believed the house was haunted by spirits and claimed to practice witchcraft herself. She even told her best friend that the house had a spiritual hole in it. The family lived in a world of fear and superstition. Young Madyson had an imaginary friend named Emily. According to the parents, Emily was a ghost who lived in their home. The Jamisons were so convinced of the haunting that they sought help from a pastor. And Bobby even looked for special spiritual bullets to defend his family. The line between reality and delusion was rapidly blurring. 8 days after they vanished, hunters found the Jamisons' white truck on a remote dirt road. It was locked and abandoned. Inside, police found a scene that defied logic. The family's IDs, wallets, cell phones, and GPS were all there. Most shockingly, $32,000 in cash was tucked under the driver's seat. They had left behind everything they needed to survive. Locked inside the truck for over a week was the family's dog, Maisie. She was severely malnourished and near death, but she had survived. The fact that the Jamisons, who loved their dog, would leave her to starve inside the vehicle suggested they either left in a state of extreme panic or were forced out by someone else. On Bobby's phone, police found a final photo of Madyson. She was standing on a hilltop, her arms crossed, looking unhappy or perhaps frightened. Some analysts say she looks like she's on the verge of tears. This photo, taken on the day they disappeared, is the last known image of the little girl alive. A haunting glimpse into their final hours. Inside the truck, investigators found a sprawling 11-page letter written by Sherilyn to Bobby. It wasn't a love letter. It was a manifesto of hate. She detailed her grievances, calling him a loner and expressing deep resentment. The letter painted a picture of a marriage that was crumbling under the weight of mental illness and chronic pain. Bobby suffered from debilitating back pain following a 2003 car accident. Both parents were on disability and struggled with depression. Some suspected the trance-like behavior on the security tapes was the result of drug use, possibly methamphetamines, which were prevalent in the area. However, no evidence of a lab or drugs was found in the truck. Shortly before the disappearance, the Jamisons had a roommate named Kenneth Bellows. He was reportedly a white supremacist with a violent streak. Sherilyn had eventually forced him out at gunpoint. This lead initially seemed promising, but Bellows had a solid alibi for the time the family went missing, leaving investigators back at square one. Bobby was embroiled in a bitter legal battle with his father, Bob Dean Jamison. Bobby claimed his father had threatened him and even tried to hit him with a car. Had sought a protective order against him just months earlier. While the father had a motive and a history of threats, he was in poor health and died shortly after the family disappeared. Because of the witchcraft writings and the odd behavior, rumors of cult involvement swirled. Sherilyn's mother believed the family had been placed on a hit list by a religious cult. In the isolated Oklahoma mountains, where legends of satanic groups persist, the theory took root in the public imagination, though no concrete link was ever found. Why would a family on disability be carrying $32,000 in cash into the woods? Some believed it was for the land purchase, but the landowner said no such deal had been struck. Others suspected a drug deal gone wrong. The money remained untouched in the truck, suggesting that if they were murdered, profit was not the killer's primary motive. The security footage showed Sherilyn placing a brown briefcase into the truck before they left. When the truck was found, the briefcase was missing. It has never been recovered. Some believe it contained the source of their troubles, be it drugs, more money, or documents that someone was willing to kill for. Hundreds of volunteers and law enforcement officers combed the Bois Mountains, So they used dogs, drones, and helicopters. The terrain was rugged and thick with brush. Despite the massive scale of the search, not a single piece of clothing or bone was found. So it was as if the mountains had simply swallowed the three of them whole. 4 years later, in November 2013, hunters discovered skeletal remains just 3 miles from where the truck had been found. The bodies were lying face down in a row, side by side. The elements and animals had done their work. Only bones remained. Forensic testing confirmed what everyone feared. Bois, Sherilyn, and Madyson had been found. Because the remains were so decomposed, the medical examiner could not determine a cause of death. There were no obvious signs of trauma, like bullet holes or broken bones. A small hole in Bois's skull was debated. Some said it was a gunshot, others said it was animal damage. The official report listed the cause of death as unknown. One prominent theory is that Sherilyn, struggling with bipolar disorder, killed Bois and Madyson before taking her own life. The 11-page letter and her missing pistol supported this. However, the way the bodies were lined up suggested a more orderly or ritualistic end, leading many to believe a third party was involved in their final moments. The mountains were known for illegal pot farms and drug activity. Some suspect that Jamison stumbled upon a cartel operation or a meth lab while looking at the land. In this scenario, they were eliminated for seeing something they shouldn't have. But again, the $32,000 left behind makes a professional hit seem unlikely. If a killer took the family into the woods, why did they take the briefcase but leave the money? This suggests the briefcase held something far more valuable or incriminating than cash. The mystery of its contents remains one of the most frustrating black holes in the entire investigation. Sherilyn owned a small caliber pistol for protection. Like the briefcase, the gun was never found in the truck or at the site of the remains. If it was a murder-suicide, she likely had it with her. If it was a kidnapping, the captor may have taken it. The missing weapon is a silent witness to the violence that occurred. Experts who viewed the security footage suggested the couple's behavior was consistent with punding, a repetitive behavior often seen in heavy stimulant users. While the Jamisons weren't known addicts, the stress of their lives and the isolation of the mountains may have led them toward a dark path that ended in a chemical-induced haze. The land they were looking at was remote and difficult to access. The landowner claimed he never saw them that day. It's possible they got lost or their truck broke down, but the truck was in working order. They chose to walk away from the vehicle, leaving their coats behind on a cold day. A decision that essentially sealed their fate. Local legends speak of a menacing presence in the Bois Mountains. While skeptical investigators focus on drugs and family feuds, some locals believe the Jamisons fell prey to the very spirits they were so afraid of. To those who believe in the supernatural, the family's descent into madness was a prelude to a paranormal tragedy. Despite the discovery of the bodies, the case remains officially unsolved. There are no suspects and no new leads. The Latimer County Sheriff's Office maintains that the case is suspicious, but without a cause of death or a witness. They are at a standstill. The Jamison family has become a permanent fixture in the annals of true crime lore. Bois's brother has expressed doubt about the drug theories, noting that the family was tight-knit despite their problems. He leans toward the theory of a third-party attacker. The lack of closure has left the surviving relatives in a state of perpetual grief, haunted by the same questions that have obsessed internet sleuths for years. The hole in Bois's skull remains the most debated piece of physical evidence. If it was a bullet, the case is a clear murder. If it was a scavenger, it's a tragic accident or exposure. Forensic science, usually so definitive, failed the Jamisons in the end, leaving the most vital piece of the puzzle open to interpretation. The Jamison case serves as a warning about the intersection of mental illness, isolation, and the unknown. It's a story about a family trying to escape the world, only to find that the world, or perhaps their own minds, was inescapable. Their dream of a quiet life in a storage container ended in a lonely row of bones in the dirt. Why the cash? Where's the briefcase? Who took the final photo? Why were they in a trance? These questions remain as loud today as they were in 2009. The Jamison mystery is a perfect storm of oddities, where every answer only leads to 3 more questions, creating a labyrinth with no exit for those seeking the truth. Today, the Sands Boys Mountains are quiet. The white truck is gone, and the bones have been laid to rest. But the mystery of what happened to Bobby, Sherilyn, and Madyson Jamison lingers like a mountain mist. It is a story with no hero, no villain, and no ending, just three shadows walking forever into the Oklahoma woods.